Trusting your intuition will lead you to create a passionate and joy-filled life. Are you ready to get turned on to a new way of thinking? Are you ready to meet people who have conversations that speak to the things that truly light you up? What if you had access to a podcast that featured women just like you, who shared stories that empowered you to let go of a life tied to others' expectations and to start living in the now with passion and joy? I'm Jacqueline Rodriguez, founder of Your Intuitive Light Coaching, owner of Enlightened Styles Holistic Salon, and your host of the Intuitive Light podcast for the enlightened entrepreneur. My goal is to help women recognize how tightly they are tied to negative thoughts and other people's expectations, so that they can fully embrace and become the untethered CEO they've always wanted to be. You're about to meet some amazing women who will inspire you to untether yourself from any fears, negativity that you carry and become the untethered CEO of your life. This podcast is for you, woman, champion, warrior, entrepreneur, mother, phenomenon. Hello and welcome back to the Intuitive Light podcast and show. I am your hostess, Jacqueline Rodriguez, and thank you so much for coming and joining us again on the show. Today we have Keren Eldad, and she is a founder with enthusiasm. I can't even say that word today. Enthusiasm Coaching is an American personal and executive coach. I am really excited to learn more about Keren and hear all about her TED Talk, and she's got a lot of different things going on that is just super amazing. And we've got some great tips as an entrepreneur to really start getting yourself out there. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on Keren.
Hi, guys.
Welcome.
I'm Keren. Thank you. It's so nice to be here with you, Jacqueline.
Yes, thank you so much for being here. I'm excited to get to know more about you. We've just touched on a few things, and I hear you're doing so many amazing things in your work. And tell us a little bit about you.
Well, thank you. I've been blessed with incredible success in this career, which is just a pure joy. And the reason it's a pure joy is because I get to uplift and help others. I also get to talk to people about the other side, the side of success that everyone is really, truly going for, and what the pitfalls are. I've become really focused, as you know, on helping people just start to understand that there is some humility and self-awareness that goes a very, very long way in becoming extraordinarily successful, and that these are really important if you'd like to not just be rich and famous, but also happy, fulfilled, living to the fullness of your potential, and waking up eager with rich and robust relationships around you. And so that's kind of what I've dedicated my practice to. That's what I came here to talk about. And I hope that anybody out there who's trying to build a really, really successful career takes into account that there is a way to do this that kind of relieves you of the risks of isolation at the top, problems along the way, and growth pains that I think are unnecessary.
I so agree with you. And a lot of what I have always completely agreed with and actually been a little taken aback when people do say that they feel alone and that this entrepreneur thing is very hard. I feel like the more we come together, and it's one of my missions to lift other entrepreneurs up and work together and create these beautiful relationships that I know can help get you to that next level, and that we really can look at business a completely different way. Does not have to be hard. It can actually be so fulfilling. And that's where the magic happens.
That's exactly right. So, if for anybody who wants to have an easy life, not a hard life, a fun life, not a confusing life, by all means, listen to us. We're going to give you some good stuff here.
Yes. Get a pen and paper, write it down, take notes. So, tell me a little bit about how you've come to this, and what are your things that you help walk your entrepreneurs through as well.
Yeah, well, I always tell people there are only two ways to change your life. The first is a giant collapse, big trauma, and the second is coaching. Mine was trauma. Now, I don't
Mhm.
recommend this. I'd much rather change my life through coaching. So, for everybody out there, don't wait for a shitstorm. Do it yourself. And I assure you that if there is no self awareness in the process, I know you know this, Jacqueline, shitstorm is coming. That's just how life is. We cannot stay
Yep.
stagnant. We cannot stay deadened for very long. Our desires
Mhm.
will keep building within us, and we can't deny them. They will start to manifest as problems, believe it or not.
Oh yeah.
So that's exactly what happened to me. I was living a life that, for all external purposes, looked fantastic. Definitely looked great on Instagram. Was married to a tall guy who always matched my outfits. I wore a pink dress. He wore a pink tie. Everybody thought we were just really, really happy, really lovely, really good looking people. And I had a nice career, C suite or a top level management position with $1 billion company, a very, very big company. And I lived in a really large house with nice furniture. If you actually knew what was going on, you would not have envied me. That relationship was an abusive marriage. I was really
Mm.
trapped and was told constantly not only that I was fat, but that I was a sad loser with horrible friends. I was locked in the bathroom and yelled at for not complying with stuff. It was just an awful, miserable existence where I basically slept in the library because I just couldn't tolerate being around him anymore. My job was nice. It was a nice job. It's definitely a the kind of position a lot of people would find fulfilling, but I always sort of knew that I had something bigger inside me. I just wouldn't go for it because I was so scared all the time of losing my benefits. And
Yeah.
the friends that I had also were really nice people, but I was so trapped in the keeping up with the Joneses kind of mindset that everything was a struggle and everything was a collection of debt, really, to just keep up and line up and look good and be the right thing.
Mhm.
And then, as luck would have it, I decided to get divorced. And when I decided to get divorced, you know how like one thing goes down, everything else goes down, right? There was an enormous confluence of events. I left my job because I had to go back to New York City. I wasn't living there and I couldn't find a job for 5 months. I hadn't saved very well, obviously, with all the debt for the keeping up with the Joneses. So I was broke too. I'm sleeping on friends' couches. My stuff that I put in storage burned down. There was actually a fire in the storage.
Oh my gosh.
And so everything that I formed my identity around starts to collapse one by one by one. It was in this period that I got really, really lucky. I started reading self help books. I used to think that they were nonsense for sad people who needed help,
Mm.
and they completely changed my life. That's also when I started to look really seriously at coaching, a Tony Robbins seminar here, hiring a
Yeah.
private coach eventually. And it completely turned around the way I think, the way I feel, the way I see myself. And of course, it led to the career that was basically, I can't say enough about how wonderful this is. So basically that was my transformation. And the reason I know whereof I speak is because I literally know whereof I speak. I lived it. I've been there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that you're so correct on whether you're coming from trauma or you work through it with a coach. I too have hired many of coaches, and I came through trauma as well.
Yeah.
And having to work through that, like we don't want anybody to go through those, like
No.
really getting outside of that and start going within before you have to have all of that happen. And I don't know if you feel this way. I know from my trauma, yes, it was terrible. I hate it having to go through it, but it really put me to who I am today. And
Yeah.
I am in the position that I am in now to help other people not go through that same type
That's
of
exactly
trauma.
right. And whoever
Yeah.
is actually starting to smell this around them, like, the 4Ds are debt, displacement meaning, of course, changing location or changing
Hmm.
careers, divorce, and of course, death. That's one thing. But the others is you can start to sniff it around. You can start to smell when you are saying a lot of yeses when you actually mean no. You can start to
Yes.
feel when you're surrounded by circumstances that are simply not who you are, they don't feel right. And that is a
Mhm.
wake up call that should not be left alone. That is a wake up call. So if you have that going on in your life and you see other people and they look like they're really they got it together, pay attention to that. This is not about FOMO. This isn't about jealousy. This is literally about your desire is calling you through that person. Chase the rabbit down the hole.
Yeah, most definitely. And allowing yourself to go within to even find out what it is that you really want.
Yeah.
And like you said, not FOMO, but what is it about the person that you look up to? What is it that you are attracted to? But
Yeah.
what aligns with who you are and what kind of impact you want to make?
Exactly right. Exactly right.
Yeah.
Beautifully stated. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
It's funny because I used to think that I was just obsessed with Madonna because I was obsessed with Madonna, but today I really understand what she represented to me. What she
yeah.
represented to me, that fierceness, that unapologetic stature, that ability to do what you truly love and what you truly want to do. These are things that were attractive and appealing to me because they were inside me. They were
Yes.
calling me. And that's a really important thing to start to ask yourself, who are my heroes and why? Rather than who are my heroes and why do I feel like I can't be like them? Very different
Mm.
question.
Huge, different questions. And the fact of the matter is you can't be like anybody.
No, not
So,
really. No.
no, not truly.
No.
And you don't want to be like anybody else. So
No.
that's where going within for me has helped me really decipher what is it about that person's life or that I see on the outside because like you said, even with your life, like we don't know what happens
Mm.
behind the Instagram perfect story, right?
Yeah.
What is it that's attractive to you about that and what is that deeper yearning
Yeah.
and follow that like you said to go down the rabbit hole. I always use the rabbit hole and I'm like fully into Alice in Wonderland at this point of my life.
Yeah.
Like I just go with the flow and
Yeah.
work out the details as they come up because that greater calling is pushing me and having that deeper purpose will guide you if you listen. And the listening's the hard
I
part.
agree. It's calling you. It's
Literally.
calling you. It's calling you. And the hard no, the hard part is to say yes all the time because there's so many
Mm.
interruptions that are telling you not to go. You got to understand that if you could just follow, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
You'll be fine. It,
Mhm.
stop with the fake problems, I always say. The should I stay or
Mm.
should I go for people in life? Mm. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about when to trust your intuition, what the difference is between that and what you shouldn't do. And it's very, very simple distinction for me.
Yes. Well, I would love to hear. Let's dive right into it. So,
So, what is the difference between following your gut instinct and reacting?
yeah.
Okay, here's the principle. It's really simple. You're going to like it. If it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no.
Mm.
If the door is not flung open and there's a bunch of signs, trust me, this is not for you. Not because it's not for you forever, but it's not for you right now. If there's a lot of resistance on your way and it just, for example, you're getting a lot of mixed messages from somebody. What do you think that means? That means closed door, hugs Karen. You're
Yeah.
getting a lot of mixed messages about whether or not you should go for it in this particular department. This is not the right time. You're not ready. You're just not ready. Now, there's
Mhm.
great ways to cross over into the place where you are relaxed enough to say hell yes and deal with any consequences. And those are called hedging your bets. Hedging your
Mm.
bets. I always say if you haven't done anything before, like I don't know, start your own business. You and I know what this is like, right? So let's not lie to
Yeah.
anybody. This is sometimes it's chicken, sometimes it's feathers. At least in the beginning, you have to pick up your stride. If you are not ready to do that, I recommend with all my heart that you do it the way I did for my first year of with enthusiasm coaching, which is a big business now. I had a full-time job.
Mhm.
Full-time job. And yes, it was a lot of work, and I would still see clients right after work or on the weekends. And I was writing programs in all of my free time. Yes, it is a lot of work. But you know what? It's delightful. And eventually, one will overtake the other, and you'll be able to smoothly cruise into that next phase where you are no longer tethered to something that you're ready to let go of. Then your intuition is very, very happy to kick in, and the hell yes is not scared anymore. But when there is a lot of resistance on your path, it's a hell no. That's the big difference. And you have to know that difference. The hell
Mhm.
yes feeling, just to describe it, is not eagerness. It's not. It's calm. It's calm. It's ease. It's relaxation. It's, I'm okay. I'm good. I'm good. When that's your feeling, you cannot lose. It's not possible.
I love it. And I 100% agree with that. And the hell no, we don't hear enough because we're trying to please everybody else
Yes.
around us.
Yes.
And we're trying to keep up, like you said, with the Joneses, or we just simply don't even know what it is that we want.
Maybe.
And
Yeah.
because for me, I wasn't sure when I was getting started. I knew what I wanted, but I hadn't really gotten clear on what that meant
Yeah.
for me. It was the eagerness versus the calm
Yeah.
of knowing that there was no other option, that this is what I was meant for.
Absolutely. But that's
So,
what you're talking about is recognizing clarity. Clarity
yes.
is calm. Clarity is calm.
Mhm.
That's what you're looking for. Let's talk about when you're being reactive. You're only being reactive from lower level emotions, scared, worried, anxious, apprehensive. Really need to make your point. You need to be right. When you're there, trust me, this is not a good time to talk. I say
Mm-mm.
this as an Israeli who used to land on people like a sumo wrestler whenever I felt like they were even hinting at insulting me. This is not necessary. It's not necessary. You don't want to use force. You really want to be calm and relaxed. And when you're calm and relaxed, then it really doesn't matter whether your claims fall on deaf ears or not. You're good. You're good. Everything's going to be okay. Then you can really move with your gut and you understand that your preferences will be honored no matter what. Nobody needs to meet your conditions. Reactivity is always
Mhm.
about conditions and always comes from lack. It always comes from fear. If you are full, you are in abundance, you believe that the world has infinite resources and you will figure it out no matter what. That saying no to this or responding to this does not mean it will cost you something, okay? You're not in a zero sum mindset. You're in a win-win position. You got this. It's okay. You got this. But until you get there, do the work. Do the work that you're talking about, which is get clear on what you really want.
Mhm.
Do the work of hedging your bets. Figure it out in a way that is comfortable to you. If you've never been out on your own, relax. Do this the right way. Just trust me. You don't want to
Mhm.
be a statistic. And that's kind of it.
And when you're in the thick of it and you are getting started and you're trying to still find that clarity and you're trying to decipher between trusting your gut or being reactive and keeping up with everybody else, um, what do you suggest to people? I mean, I know with me really looking for that support system,
Yeah.
that's where in the beginning it was finding those people like we talked about to begin with, was who do you look up to, but who else is going to support you and help lift you up
Yes.
and give you that guidance? Would you
Absolutely.
agree, like that's the way?
For sure.
Yeah.
And, that's one of the main reasons to hire a solid coach, somebody who's
Yeah.
walking the walk, because that mentorship is invaluable to us. In the
Mhm.
beginning, I also recommend that you start to do the most basic of inner work, aside from reading, like your life depends on it, because it does. I would
Mhm.
also really become interested in mindfulness practices. And the most important ones for me are Byron Katie's The Work, or my version, which is the pause principle. The pause principle is whenever you feel challenged, you don't know what to do next. You don't know what to do next. You really don't understand how to trust that intuition because it's led you astray in the past. Pause. And in that pause, ask yourself 3 questions. You only need 17 seconds for this. Anybody can do this 5 times a day. I do it in my head. Number
Yeah.
1, is the problem, or is my reaction to it the problem?
Mm,
Here's a really
good
fun
question.
spoiler alert. It's always you that is the problem. Number 2, is there any other way to see this? Again, spoiler alert, there are at least 5 other ways to see this. Anything you're looking at can be looked at 5 different ways, including death. And number 3, what is the opportunity if I'm willing to look at it any other way? That's it. Now, you won't finish this exercise every single time, and it takes enormous amounts of practice. This is not something that you do once and you're done. I practiced the pause principle. I actually printed it out in the early days, laminated it, and carried it around in my wallet. True story. So every time somebody pissed me off, somebody cut in line, I had a really big issue, and I got sued every single time. Pause principle, pause principle, pause principle. This is where I really started to practice intuitiveness that is directed from abundance and not from lack. This teaches you to stop responding from fear or anger, lower level emotions,
Mm-hmm.
and start moving towards growth and even possibly towards love and collaboration. Those are the responses that will always garner better results. That's what's in it for you. It's not about making you a nicer person and for people to like you. Nobody cares about that at this level of coaching. It's about you living a life that is free and creating the results that you really want in your life. So if you haven't been getting the results you want, try it. Just try it and watch what happens.
That is, I mean, I love your pause. You said it's pause principle.
The pause
Yeah.
principle. You got to hit pause like you're hitting the
Yeah.
pause with the remote.
It reminds me of that movie, oh, with Adam Sandler.
Yes.
They rewind. Yeah.
Yeah.
You pause.
But just for a
Bringing that
second, when
in.
you inject, when like, let's talk about how like cool this is. If you can pause for 2 seconds and inject just a tiny bit of light into a situation, the whole situation will be flooded with light. If you respond immediately with all the, you know,
Mhm.
that charge that comes with reactivity, what do you think's going to happen? It's like spewing a dark mist over everything. It's just going to be misty.
It is. And again, it goes back to clarity. You have no clarity of how you even want to react, what the situation is, and how the other people take it. And you can't take things back. So
No.
pausing before you make a quick, decisive reaction is always going to be the better bet.
That's right. You are creating
And
your own reality. You are creating your own reality. It's funny, I don't know about you, but my mom used to say, sleep on it and don't speak in anger. And I used to think, what a ridiculous woman. She doesn't know what she's talking about. Nobody should go to sleep angry. We should have it out right now. And today, I really do not speak if I'm pissed off. I really don't. It's
Mhm.
the smartest advice in the whole world. Really pay attention to it. And we're not asking you to repress. We're asking you to work
No,
through the
no.
emotions and respond from a place that is more relaxed. And anything that is more relaxed, even hopeful, is better than angry.
Yeah. Hopeful, calm, even if you are just content with,
Yeah.
how the situation, it's so much better than angry. And you really do save yourself a heartache by putting things out there that you cannot retract. And I don't know about you, but I also get that chime, and I think you even said it. You get to reflect
Yeah.
on what are the other possibilities, because there are always different possibilities. And I had to do a lot of that deep work with, my mind work, the neuroscience, the energy work of physically removing myself
Yeah.
out of my own way.
Yes, absolutely. And the secret to that is to understand something very important. That's what the pause principle is about, or all mindfulness is about. All
Mhm.
mindfulness is about perspective, that removal of the self from the
Yeah.
self. And yes, you can do it, because here's the deal: the thoughts are not thinking you. You are thinking your thoughts. And when you start to
Mhm.
understand that you're the person pulling the strings, you can get out of your own way. That's a pretty great thing to understand. And the only way we actually learn this is through practice. practice, practice, practice until we're blue in the face. Let's do this really, really quickly for people. I think it would be super useful to understand the pause principle. Let's say for 1 second that I'm on an airplane and somebody's kicking my seat. This is a story I tell in my TED Talk. Little kid kicking my seat. Now, my initial reaction is I got to either have this child thrown out of the plane or yell at his parent, because what the hell kind of parent is allowing them to do this? That's reaction.
Yeah.
Pause principle. Number one, is the problem is my reaction with throwing a fit on the plane where I'm trapped for the next 4 hours? The problem. My reaction is the problem. Number two, what are 5 other ways to see this? He's 2. Number 2, maybe that mom is having a horrible, horrible time with this child, and I should feel sorry for her. Number 3, maybe this woman has extenuating circumstances that I don't even know anything about, that have nothing to do with the child, and they're preventing her from helping me. Number 4, maybe I can ask the stewardess to move me. Number 5, maybe I'm supposed to buy an upgrade to first class right now. This is my sign from God that I should never sit and coach again. I'm not kidding. These are all really good examples of other ways to see this.
100%.
Great. I decided to sit down and really allow these to simmer down. And by the time step 3 came around, that nice lady said to me, I'm so sorry. My husband left me yesterday. I can't even deal with this right now. I don't know what's come over me or what's come over this child. We are still friends today. Her name is Maya. Because of that moment, and because I didn't freak out on her, because I didn't yell at her, and because I didn't berate her child. And that is where all the beauty of life lies. If you can sit long enough with uncertainty and discomfort to just examine your thoughts a bit, your outcomes are going to be significantly different. That's the power of the pause.
And that is super powerful.
Yeah.
Being able to see such a different perspective and not be reactive, because you're right, we don't know what others are going through. We don't know what's happening outside of the circumstance that's brought to us, and how much of a change it could make by just pausing.
That's right. That's right. You don't know what you don't know.
Great. Yeah, we don't. And imagine, I mean, that poor woman, Maya, poor woman, having such a terrible time, and she just needed a second. And then you needed a second to pause, and everybody pauses and comes together, and there's this greater understanding and connection between people when we pause.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
That's right. It's the secret.
I love it. Yes.
I love it too.
And it is a great secret.
It is. It's a really good one. It's a really easy one. You can master this in a day.
Yep. And you know, I know you had said already that you continue down that, because it's like going to the gym. You can't just go to the gym once and you have to, and each and every day. It's not always going to be an easy thing to hit pause.
No.
But it's a necessary thing.
Yeah, that's right. I always challenge people who are super enlightened like us to go home and spend a week with their family. You'll be practicing the pause principle every day for hours and hours. There's always going to be triggers. You just need to commit to this. If you commit to this as a discipline, it will completely and radically start to change your life. That's for sure.
100%. Beautiful. I love it. And it's so empowering to know that you can have that.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Thank you for letting me say this directly to people.
Of course. And then I know we had another one. You can let your light shine through without oversharing. So what does that all mean?
So how can you let your light shine through? How can you be you? How can you be authentically you without oversharing? And by the way, without bulldozering other people with your you-ness? Well, the answer lies again in the feeling. The answer lies again in the feeling. You know the difference, but I'm going to break it down for everybody out there, because we all know somebody who's just a little too, I'm going to be who I am, and you're going to deal with it. which is, by the way, not
Mhm.
I'm going to be who I am. There is an enormous difference between the feeling of equanimity, chill, authenticity, relaxation. I am who I am. That comes with calm, with centeredness,
Mhm.
versus I need to prove to you at every second who and what I am, and you will accept this light. My rabbi used to say, if an old lady doesn't want to cross the street, you don't get to drag her. This is a really important principle for light. If somebody isn't interested, you don't really need to prove yourself. And if you are in a place of proving yourself, you are 100% in the domain of lack. So now again, we come back to lack versus abundance, or fear versus love, feelings that are
Mhm.
absolutely opposed to each other. When we're full with gratitude, we're happy, we're okay, we're cool with who we are. Do you really care if some people don't agree? Not really. Not really. Not
Yeah.
for long. Certainly not for long.
Mm-mm.
Do we really feel like we need to share something that doesn't need to be shared? No. We are rolling with things. We are letting things unfold. We share at the appropriate time. We're also pretty cool with the consequences if we did share something. For example, I just mentioned that I was in an abusive relationship. Before, I'd be terrified that this may come across the wrong way. You could judge me, whatever, etc. Ramifications. Today, look, this is it. You'll take it the way you'll take it. I know why I'm doing this. It serves other people. It helps other people to unwind from their own self and to see themselves reflected in me. Not a problem. There's no over here in this sharing.
Mhm.
And there's no emotion here anymore. It's not proving or trying to get your sympathy either. So
Yeah.
again, you understand that feeling. A lot of people on the Instagram, and you know how much I love the social media, are trying so hard to grab you. They're trying to grab you. It's like a difference between a sales pitch of somebody who's desperate to make a commission and a sales pitch from somebody who's really, really good at what they do, and you're more than welcome to join if and when it rocks
Yeah.
your world. That's it. That's the difference. Letting your light shine through never requires a bombastic effort. Effort
Yeah.
always comes from lack. Always.
So, so right. So resonating, I'm sure, with so many people listening. And when you're sharing your light, because this is something that I've been like, especially with my salon and trying to attract certain people from there and showing my clients that we don't have to like everyone and not everybody has to like us, because we're not trying to change people's minds.
Yeah.
We are only here to help guide the people who are ready to follow the light
That's exactly
and
right.
to change their own lives.
I always say that
Because,
when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And when they're
yeah.
going back and forth, I mean, first of all, you're certainly not ready for me. I'm a very intense coaching method and you're not going to like it. But if you are ready, this will resonate in every like, right? You remember your first
Mhm.
coach for sure. It moves every fiber of your
Yeah.
bones. I was like, I'm going to find the money. This
Mhm.
has to happen. And I'm so glad I did.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was a scary first step.
Oh yeah.
One, finding the money. Two, letting somebody into your world of
Yeah.
what is happening, because you're trying to put this facade up or you
Yeah.
just simply don't even know where to start. So a lot of vulnerability has to come out
It's
when you
true.
start
It's
with a
true.
coach.
That's true.
Yeah.
And that's extraordinarily hard. That is extraordinarily hard, even for people who've taken the big leap to
Mhm.
then admit to a coach that it's not as good as it looks is
Yeah.
so hard. These habits die real hard. But if you are willing
Right.
to say, you know what, I don't got this. I don't got this all the time. That's why I'm
Mhm.
here. We can actually do something.
Yeah. And it's at different levels too.
Yeah.
You might have gotten the lower level and you got this. The second level and you got and there's so many levels, and each time you break through your own glass ceiling of where you are, there's going to be a whole nother
Yeah.
level that we have to go through.
That's so true, and
So,
that's true of everything. Eckhart Tolle once said
mm,
that you can have the best intentions and the coolest build up of a like you build your own spiritual temple, and you are still gonna suffer from burnout, from isolation, from everything. There's always a next level, always. So
Hmm.
never rest on your laurels. That's not what life is about. We don't get to sleep until we're dead. And that's actually a really good thing. Life will always be interesting and always be serving us cause for expansion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it is such a beautiful thing, especially when you get super clear, you get super aligned, and you allow your intuition to kick in and guide you.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. But you got to trust
It
it first. If
most
I trusted my
definitely.
intuition 10 years ago, it would have led me down a path that was even worse.
And we have all the experiences that we're meant to have
Yeah, for
to
sure.
allow us to grow.
And
So
it's funny
even
because you
through
can
that.
identify in hindsight, like, for example, I remember walking down the aisle and thinking, this is a really bad idea. Like, a lot of us are
Mhm,
very well aware of the fact, and we can
mhm,
sift and sort. It's literally about starting to tune into that voice within. Who knows? Who knows where you're going? Who knows what you really want? And stop denying
mhm.
it that to line up with society, to do what you think is quote unquote the right thing. Really learn how to silence those voices and tune into you. That's what the work is about.
Yeah, that's beautifully said. And it is something just so powerful that anyone who's watching, like, whatever's resonating with you, and I do recommend listening to it a few times. You're going to hear and pick up different nuances each and every time you go through it, because we hear what we're able to take in at the moment.
Yes, yes. And there
And
are
when
such
you grow,
different levels of understanding. You're so right. Yeah.
yes,
I
yes, when
read
you
a lot
grow,
of
you hear
books.
different.
Yeah. I was reading Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. Have you ever
Mhm.
read that? It's a
Yes,
great
I
book.
have. I have
I
it.
read it when I was a little kid. I read it when I was like 23, 24. And then I read it maybe 15 years after that. And I totally got it. It was completely different.
Mhm,
You would have thought that these books that were all at my disposition would have changed my life back then, but I wasn't ready to hear. I wasn't ready to
mhm.
hear. I was still sifting and sorting at a certain level of comprehension. It's
Yeah.
only when we understand all the fundamentals that everything else can appear to us differently.
Yes, and our experiences compile on one another, so it gives us a little bit more insight to, and simply being able to hear different things from a book or from a TED Talk or whatever. You can listen to it over and over again, and each and every time you will hear or read a different nuance that at that moment is what you needed. And you might
Completely
have
true.
read the thing and said, "How in the heck did I miss this the 20 other times that I read this or listened to
Completely.
this?" It's I do recommend, especially with this type of deeper level, and we're going in deeper with the little things, you're still going to pick up such different nuances. So listen again, and then reach out to us. Let us know what type of support and you what you learned and what more you're yearning for,
Yeah.
because I think it's really important.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
Yeah.
It's the most important work anybody can ever do in their life.
Yes. And it's all for you. It's not for everybody else around you. It's not for your husbands, your kids. You have to be able to get really quiet with yourself so that you can love yourself from such a deep level that where let your light shine through,
Yeah.
the authentic light. And then everybody else kind of comes around you and you start connecting with your family. I know that that's what happened. I mean, I connect so much better with my
Sure.
family, with my husband, with so many different things inside of my life because I took the time to do that harder work on myself.
Yeah, I always say that. Like, there's a trickle down effect. Even when you're doing executive coaching, you become a better dad, you
Mm,
become a better sister, you become a better everything. And that's
yeah,
true because you change. The world doesn't change, but you change. And you being so fundamentally tapped into what matters to you is unmessable with. It's a real nice place to be.
it sure is. So tell us all where we can find you and keep up with you and, all of that good stuff because we're going to put it down in the show notes. But I like
Awesome.
to hear from you.
Well, I really appreciate that. I'm at KerenEldad.com. Keren is spelled with two E's, so not like the memes on Instagram, KerenEldad.com. I'm also the host of the Coached podcast, and I always tell people to listen a couple of times because they're never going to pick it up the first time. It's the truth,
Yes.
isn't it? It's the truth.
Yeah.
And on Instagram at Coach Keren is probably the best place if you wanted to follow my talks and when my appearances are coming up and things like that. And podcasts like this.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Wonderful. Well, I really appreciate you being here. This has been so wonderful to hear your perspective of all the amazing things that you're doing, and another hit for the truth of what we have to start facing to start getting to that next level and the things that we really want in this world. So I appreciate all your knowledge. Thank you so much for being on the
Thank you.
show. We'll definitely have to keep up with everything.
Yeah.
And if you're listening, make sure you go follow all of Keren's information. Make sure you reach out to us. Tell us what you thought of this. What else do you need? Because this is what we're here for. So thank you so much and have a beautiful rest of your day.
You too. Thanks, Jacqueline.
Thank you so much for listening today. Please make sure that you go over to the blog and follow all the links for our guests and get the downloads that we talked about. I would also really love and appreciate if you would share this podcast with your friends and family. And if you wouldn't mind taking just a minute to leave a review, that would mean the world to me. Thank you again so much from the bottom of my heart for listening and staying tuned. Can't wait to see you next week on the show.